Hello and welcome to Art by the Lake. Today we're going to make an epic mess. We're going to call this one, It's Not Easy Being Green, or yellow maybe. We'll run down the paints. We've already mixed everything. We have the canvas prepped. We're using a new recipe today, and that recipe is 2 parts Floetrol, 1 part paint, and 1 part distilled water. In each of the cups, except the white, we have a few drops of silicone. We're going to debut a new device today that we're calling the paint cannon, if you can see that. It's made up of tissue rolls with some weights on it. So we're going to try sort of an inverted dirty pour. We also have some regular cups to save the day with a regular dirty pour. We're going to start with a lot of negative space white. Preparation wise here, we have set up the canvas with push pins on the back so that it sits up off the work surface. We've also set it up so that there's a little bit of cardboard backing in this that we've pinned in place so that the canvas itself doesn't sag. If it sags too much, you'll see your paint will pool, and we're trying to combat that a little bit. We also soak the canvas in water ahead of time and let it dry, and soak it and let it dry, and soak it and let it dry. We've done that a few times today. We have a big cup of white here ready, and we have a number of colors. I will run them down for you. Hopefully the autofocus on the camera will cooperate. Our first color, and I'm going to go left to right, is Handy Art acrylic paint, and they call this light green. I think this is a Walmart product. Next up we have Liquitex Basics, and this is Hooker's Green. After that we have Deep Green Permanent. This is also a Liquitex Basics. After that we have a Liquitex Acrylic Phthalo Green. That's this cup, so we're this far. Then we have Deco Art, Americana Deco Art, and this is a thermal green, they call it. Then we have Deco Art Americana Bahama Blue. I don't hear the autofocus going crazy here on this one, so I'm going to just double check that before we get too far. Okay, sorry for the delay. We just want to make sure everything's running right, because this promises to be an interesting one that we don't want to lose the video for. Up next is this color. This is Chrome Yellow. That's from Handy Art as well. See if it focuses in on that. Followed by Americana. This is a Scorching Yellow, they call it. And so this is sort of a neon color. See that? And then finally we have good old Yellow Oxide. This is a regular Liquitex paint. This is the last color down here. And the white we're using today is also a Handy Art Titanium White. Again, my recipe today is 2 parts Floetrol, 1 part paint, 1 part distilled water, and I have taken the patience here and taken the time to weigh these. So I have a little scale back here behind me, and I've actually weighed out the 2 parts and the 1 part and the 1 part. So we have a pretty good idea of what it's doing. This is, as always with my videos, this is a test. If you have any questions, you can reach me at artbythelake@gmail.com. You see that all down here. You can find us on YouTube, which if you're watching this you already have, on Etsy and on eBay as well, and all of those are Art by the Lake, and that will be linked at the end of this video as well. We are time-lapsing this video. We zoomed in a little tighter this time. We're going to let it run for an hour or two after we're done to see what the paint does as far as movement. We've updated our lighting. We've done a lot of things, and so we're watching the clock here and keeping our eye on everything. We're going to do quite a messy thing here. It's an experimental piece, this piece here. It's weighted down with heavy washers and taped on. Because the tops are open, there's no suction like in a typical dirty pour. So my fear is that when we get going with this, it will start to skate around the canvas. If it does that, we're going to rescue it with sort of a traditional dirty pour, and we have those cups ready. We have a lot of white. We're going to pre-coat the canvas with white. Keep in mind here too that if you're doing things in a typical dirty pour like a cup, you want white to come out last, so you put white in first. If you're doing it in this method, we're not inverting this, so you're going to put white in last. But as you'll see, we're going to cover the canvas in white, so it's going to have that fluid so that the paint can move around. And I have my handy dandy little trowel here. We're going to move it around. I'm just going to move the paints just back a tiny bit here, because I want to be able to touch up the edges just a bit with the white. Once I get the white in here, I'm going to drop this into the white paint. It should be quite a mess. So we'll give this a last little stir and we'll get going. If you haven't done this before, try it out. If we make a huge mess and it's awful and you're afraid to do it, then just tune back into our YouTube channel, because I promise we will do this level mess over and over again. So here goes the white. And so I'm just going to get this on the canvas. It just helps things move around. You'll see that I'm going to take the trowel and push it and get it over the edges. I like to have a lot. I think it works better. I think the paint moves better. So you be the judge if you want to use up this much paint, or you can say the word waste, I guess. If you want to waste this much paint, that's entirely up to you. Your paint, you do what you want. As Bob Ross would say, it's your world. You can create it any way you want to. So we're getting the white just all around, getting it up into the corners especially. When you tilt, you'll see that corners are really hard to get to. So without wasting and dumping a lot of paint off the edge. So I'm going to make sure that all of our corners are good, and I'm going to make sure I'm pushed over the edge, especially on the corners. If you hear beeping in the background, that is our time-lapse camera. We're running a separate rig for time-lapse from our regular video camera here. We find that it just works better that way. It's easier to run everything, and I can actually start to edit the video while the time-lapse is still running. So it saves a little time. If you're interested, I mention this on every video. We think you're probably just interested in doing this, which is great. If you're interested in purchasing any of the paintings we create, you will find them on Etsy and eBay. It takes a while, as you know, that if you've done this at all. Many of these paints take days and days and days to dry. I just moved the one, we did the yellow chakra painting on Monday. Today is Saturday, and it was still sticky wet in some spots. So depending upon how much silicone you use, that can be a problem. So here's the canvas. It's got a lot of white moving on. I'm just going to put a little bit more on there to help keep things moving around. I'm going to put my trowel over here and make a huge mess. A little more white just to keep things moving. The most important thing when you're doing these kinds of paintings is having fun. So don't be afraid to waste the paint. You can buy $2, $3, 75-cent kind of paints. Okay, so the paint cannon is going in. Now, the question is, when we start to put our colors in, will it lose its suction and we'll have a massive mess? And the only way to find out is to start pouring. And we're going to be very random with these. We're also going to work up a couple dirty pours here. I think probably 2 or 3. So if you see that going on off to the side, don't be alarmed. I try to use contrasting colors, so I don't put 2 dark colors together. I don't put 2 light colors together. I'm really just being very random. You'll find that white sinks quite a bit. So, as I mentioned, in this mechanism, you're going to want to put white in last. In this mechanism, the traditional dirty cup, you're going to want to put it in first or very early. It doesn't have to be absolutely first. You can see in this second cup here, I didn't put it in first. So we have a lot of colors here, a lot going on. If we hit a time limit, the camera that I use can do up to 20 minutes at a time, and we're at 10. If we hit that time limit, I will just reset and start it again. So don't be alarmed if there's a strange break in the video. We'll clean that up in post. So far I see some leaking out of the cannon a little bit. Nothing that I'm alarmed about, and I am spilling, and that's okay. You'll find that you're going to spill as you go. It's hard to make anything fun without making a mess. So don't worry about the spills. There's going to be so much paint on this canvas that the spills won't mean anything. So I have a lot of paint here. I traditionally make too much paint. I'm following my tradition by making too much paint. But I think we have some really cool colors. And as I said, I think we're going to call this one, It's Not Easy Being Green. Because the idea here is to sort of keep it in the green hue, the green palette. Now if you can see from above, we definitely have leakage. We have some interesting cells forming already as part of that leakage. So stay tuned for the big mess. I'm not sure if you on camera can see down in these tubes, but I am trying to not put like colors together. So I'm alternating the yellows with some dark colors. When I discussed the naming of this, some of our voting said to call this the toilet paper cannon. Not sure if we liked that one or not, so we're going to call it the paint cannon. If you like how it works, be sure to try it. It looks like it's going to be fun. It looks like it's going to be super messy. This may be another painting that actually makes it to the floor as far as dripping. Hopefully not. But if it does, it does. So on this side you can see we got some phthalo coming through. On this side we have quite a bit of yellow coming through, making it very interesting. In one of these dirty pour cups, I'm making predominantly green and yellow. I'm not really doing anything beyond that. I'm not putting any sort of the bluish tones in there. Okay, we're at 14 minutes on the clock right now, so we'll see how far we get here. I have a feeling that everything that's in here is in here, and it's going to be a reveal here in less than 5 minutes. And I think what I probably will do is, if we keep filling these up, I think I will probably reset the video so that we don't run out at a critical time. But let's let it run right till 20 minutes and see where we are. So cell production, very, very good. so far. That's always a good sign for a good pour. We may move this around. I have my stainless steel straw ready to blow it out and off the canvas if need be. I'm going to ease up. We have a lot of phthalo going on, so I'm going to ease up on the phthalo and work more of the basic greens and the hooker's green. Okay, we're getting to the bottom of most of these cups. Oh. And I just saw a lump go in, so lump is never good, but hopefully it will reveal itself on the canvas and we can just track it down and scrape it off. If you haven't tried a pour like this, these are some of the most entertaining pours you can do. They're very, very random. They never quite do exactly what you think they're going to do. They never quite do what you want them to do. But the good news is, even when they do something you don't want them to do, they usually do something pretty good. So I just have a couple more colors here to go. As I mentioned, I'm easing up on the phthalo. That's this one right here. I just think it feels strong on the canvas, and I think we've got enough. I'm going to top some of these off with a little bit of white, especially the Canon paints here. If you can see here, the painting really has migrated quite a bit to the edge of our canvas on my side. If you pour the white really quickly, it will sink. If you swirl it a little bit, it tends to lay on top. We kind of like it laying on top. So I'm going to get these dirty pours on the canvas. And then we're at 18 minutes. I'm going to reset the camera and start again. So here's how I'm transferring them. I'm transferring them with a little piece of cardboard. It's not the most graceful motion in the world, but it gets the job done. Okay, they're on, they're good. I'm going to wipe my hands off and I will reset the camera and be right back in a minute. Okay, we're back. So you can see even my transfer piece of cardboard here has some pretty interesting patterns. I'm going to release the Canon here and see what happens. And I'm going to try to keep these two dirty pours stable and see where they go. I'm going to try to pull this straight up and just see what happens. So here we go, the releasing of the paint Canon. So that's a lot of paint, right? Okay, so we're going to put that off to the side. Again, that phthalo, as I suspected, that phthalo is pretty prominent. I'm going to hold on to this one and release this one so that we can do some tilting. I like the kind of what would be your lower left corner down there, kind of my upper right corner. So I don't want to lose that too much. I wouldn't mind losing some of that phthalo. And it looks like that's kind of what's happening. But before I get too far here, let me wipe my hands off and let's release the last of the dirty pour. And I'm going to try to get this to come a little bit toward me. And I like the colors in that one. That one, if you remember, that was the predominantly green cup that we tried not to do too much with. So we'll do some tilting here. Get our corners covered. Try to lose just a little bit more of that phthalo. I know you're asking, why did I put phthalo in if I'm going to blow it off the canvas? It's a good question. I kind of like phthalo green, but maybe not so much phthalo green. Okay, so I'm going to eject my gloves here and we'll do some other techniques on it. So I'm going to hit it with flamethrower, our bernzomatic torch. See if we can wake up some more cells, and that seems to be doing the job. When you're using the torch, keep it moving. I may dribble some colors here, and I may blow some colors off. Again, I'm not crazy about this area here. But I'm going to add a little bit white here. And I'm going to add some white down here because I'm seeing canvas showing through, and I never want the canvas to just show through. We'll see if we can break up this phthalo a little bit here. Get some white moving in it. I like how it's come out. Again, maybe just a little bit too much of the phthalo, and that's what I'm taking care of right now with some other colors. And we'll get the straw out here in a minute too and see if we can clean that up a bit as well. So the phthalo has laid into the background quite a bit, which I think is a good thing. So I think it's probably a heavier paint than most. Cell production over here is going crazy. I like that. I don't know if it will stay when we move the canvas around or when we walk away, but that's always the challenge with these kinds of paintings. So we get the straw out, the stainless steel straw. Let's see how that cleans up. You see, when we blow, the heavier white paint is just hiding under there. You can just see it sneaking in there, and then the lighter color paints or the lighter specific gravity paints just devour it, cover it up. So I'm gonna dribble a little bit of white paint down here just to finish these corners up so we get a consistent coat of paint flowing over the edge. I'm gonna take my trowel that's all just white right now, and we'll encourage that over the edge. Just trying to break up some of these areas where it's just a little bit too solid. Get a little spike of this bright green to tone down some of the Hooker's green and some of the phthalo. But you notice that what we had previously done up here has come out really nicely. So at this point I'm really just kind of being picky, but it's your painting, you can do whatever you want, right? So if you want to be picky, be picky. Okay, so I think I'm going to leave it alone. I'm going to let the time lapse run and we'll see how far it migrates. This one has a lot of paint on it, so I think it's going to migrate quite a bit. But again, that's our paint cannon testing. That is, it's not easy being green. It is a 16 by 20 canvas. If you're interested in this painting, you will be able to find it in a few weeks on Etsy and on eBay. You can always email artbythelake@gmail.com if you have any questions or comments. We love comments. So subscribe to our YouTube channel and tell your friends. And thank you for tuning in to Art by the Lake.